Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Fireside Chat, where Michael and I are going to discuss cybersecurity compliance, securing complex and distributed environments, and all things CMMC. I'm McKenna, the Federal Success Lead here at Horizon 3, and joining me today is Michael Bartlett, who manages IT infrastructure, networking, and security for Quantum Marine Stabilizers in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, McKenna. Great to see you again. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You too. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of a background on quantum for those who aren't familiar, and then we'll jump into some conversation. So since 1985, Quantum Marine Stabilizers has pioneered the world's most advanced marine stabilizing technologies, serving the luxury yacht, military, and commercial industries. With patented systems like zero speed, XT extendable fins, mag-lift rotors, and dynafoil fins, Quantum has revolutionized onboard comfort by reducing roll, which is that side-to-side rocking motion that makes you sick when you're on boats, both underway and at anchor. On the commercial side of things, which I think is really the coolest thing, quantum stabilizers are on 85% of all super yachts. Quantum stabilizers are also present on hundreds of our military and our allies' military vessels, which has increased mission readiness by 50% and reduced fuel usage by 18%, thanks to quantum zero speed technology. Did I do it justice, Michael?
Absolutely. Quantum is the home of zero speed. The company started doing service on other manufacturers' equipment and moved into manufacturing. Now we manufacture our equipment, our controls. We have a manufacturing center in Fort Lauderdale, manufacturing center in Holland, and service offices in Holland and Spain, and technicians all over the world. So it is a modern, global, distributed environment with all the advantages and problems that can bring in the IT sense. So yes, it's been an interesting journey. I've been with them a while.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think you told me a bit ago is about 27 years you've been with them, right?
Yes, 1998 was when I started, and it was a small service company at that time, but has moved into being a premier manufacturer for luxury yachts, commercial and military vessels. So we're a part of the DIB, and as you mentioned, the any member of the DIB is looking forward to CMMC one way or another.
Yes. Yeah. For those who are joining who aren't familiar with CMMC or the DIB is the Defense Industrial Base, which are essentially this supply chain members, a part of our national security, and we're hand in hand with our military to supply all of those needed national security supplies and consulting services and things like that. So I guess let's kind of hone in on you specifically, and then we'll zoom out with CMMC and compliance and regulations. So start us off by telling us what led you to a career in cybersecurity, and then how did you get involved with marine stabilizers back in 1998?
I've been in the marine industry in Fort Lauderdale for a long time. It's embarrassingly long, but I've always been a technology guy. Even in high school, COBOL and BASIC, I was always interested in that. So I've been in computers and networking since the days when one person pretty much had to know everything and do everything. And I started with quantum doing some of the mechanical and technical work, but as the company grew, it needed networking and needed storage and needed security and needed a website and needed all the things that go with a growing company. And so I've been managing, implementing the network, and the function that leads you into security. It really does. Without security, you've got nothing. So that is my major focus. There are team members that work with ERP, MRP, some of the other areas, but I pretty much focus on infrastructure and especially security, and especially with the emphasis as part of the Defense Industrial Base. Cybersecurity, the NIST standards are really important. So that's a quick how I got into it. I sort of grew into it, I guess.
Awesome. Now, is quantum more focused on the military side of things or more on the commercial side, or is it kind of even?
Luxury yachts are the main part of the business. We are subcontractors and contractors to military, foreign and domestic, Coast Guard, a lot of Coast Guard stuff through the years. The majority of the business is still yachts, but we feel we're a vital part of the defense industrial base as well. So
yeah, definitely. If you guys are, on 85% of all super yachts, and then also in the military vessels and our allies vessels, which is super cool. So with that, like diverse range of clients that you guys have, what unique cybersecurity challenges does this present, and has it presented over the years? You have any like cool war stories for us?
Thankfully, no.
Good.
Uh, but the concerns, I think, are the same things that any business has, and that is protecting customers and confidential data. We work with ultra high net worth individuals, and we send technicians around the world with laptops. And just right there, that's a huge vulnerability right there. You have people in hotels, coffee shops, and onboard vessels. The connecting to the equipment, programming, monitoring, servicing the equipment requires technology. So keeping our technicians safe and secure, keeping customer data safe and secure is a huge priority for me. That's, if I wanted to worry about something, that's what I'd worry about is somebody getting, if I was a yacht owner, I won't speak directly to Quantum, but if I was a yacht owner, I would want to make sure that every technician that came on board for my engines, for my refrigerators, for my audio visual system, for my ship networks, the yachts have giant networks. They may have one engineer who just does the entertainment system. They're so complex now. And to make sure that everybody that touches my network is up to modern security standards.
Perfect. And with that, right now with this new frontier of CMMC, can you explain a little bit about what that is for those who aren't familiar, and then kind of dive in how that informs your approach to securing your network and then data across your different environments?
The Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification Program or CMMC, has been in existence really since 2017, and it is based on NIST 800-171, right now R2, which is 110 categories and 300 objectives that you've got to meet. And the CMMC program is how this is going to be enforced through the defense industrial base. In other words, if you get a request for proposal and you're going to have to demonstrate that you have the correct CMMC level to fulfill that contract. And those requirements are going to be out. Theoretically, the last rule is going to be the first half of 25 when contracts start showing up. There's a 3-year implementation period. There's different levels. You can self-attest if you're just doing federal contract information. If you are handling controlled unclassified information, which is not determined by the contractor, that's determined by the government, the proposer. The proposal is going to say, here's CUI, controlled unclassified information. That's going to determine what you have to do. And that's going to be, again, the 110 objectives and 300 categories of NIST 800-171. And it's not all IT, it's a cultural thing as well. If you have to get CMMC level 2, you're going to have auditors on site for days, and they're going to be asking IT some questions, but they're going to be going to engineers, to people on the production floor saying, show me what you have access to. How did your account get set up? Show me you can't get to these areas. They're going to check the locks on your doors, your video system. They're going to make sure that your physical environment and your cultural environment, in addition to the IT environment, is up to those standards. So that's what we're looking at. And NIST 800-171, everything in there is something everybody should be doing all the time anyways, but it's hard. There's no doubt about it. So the program has, the Katie Arrington is the Department of Defense CIO, and she is adamantly online saying, you know, we know this is a big deal. We don't want to hear your complaints. You've been told this for 10 years and here we are. So let's get to it. So we'll see.
We'll see. Yep. Yeah, I think that's helpful. I think we talk about CMMC a lot, like theoretically, kind of like, oh, this is what it's about, what the goals of it are. But like on a day-to-day, what does that look like for you? Like you're trying to come into compliance with CMMC. What are like some specific steps that you've taken to align with them? Do you like rely on someone specific to help you with it? Do you just research online how to come in compliance? Do you use certain tools? Things like that I think would be helpful for people.
There's one of the best resources is the CUI Center of Excellence Discord. I recommend everybody going to that. I mean, that's not an official source, but that is where the huge base is. As far as day to day, there's one lesson that I've taken to heart, and that is not only if you're going to be audited, you have to show your system security plan and that you have a plan, but you're going to have to show that you have followed it. And so you're going to have to document, yeah, we've got a lock on the server room door, but we also save all those logs. Here's the logs for every entry. So it's not just having a standard or a process, it's being able to document that you've followed that process for months, really. So getting your system security plan, getting your documentation, getting all those so you have a history to show the auditors that you not just prepared, but you have a history of doing this. Those are the kind of day-to-day things that I really try to do.
Perfect. And someone just asked, could we get a direct link to that Discord that you mentioned? Is there a link?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Tony, I will send that to you afterwards.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. I think that would be super helpful. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so you actually took the certified CMMC professional exam, which is super interesting to me. I didn't even know that was a thing. But could you tell us what that experience was like and then how that has influenced your approach to compliance with quantum?
The CCP exam was one of the toughest I ever had. It really was. It was many months of studying, and there's great resources out there. It was a very tough exam because almost every question looked like you could answer it more than one way, but you had to answer it in the CMMC way. And there were whatever, hundreds of questions, and I was sure that I had totally punked out on the exam. And so I'm spending the last part going through questions that I thought were bad so I could do it the next time. And when I finally hit send and passed, I'm like, oh my God, I made it. But that has to be renewed. But that gets you into the world of the ethical responsibilities, the assessment plan, the CAP, the cybersecurity, is the CMMC assessment plan, how the assessments happen. And the certified CMMC professional is the first step. I can't assess an organization. I could be part of a team, but I can't assess quantum because I have been, I worked there. So I cannot actually do the assessment, but what I can do is help the company prepare for it and work with the C3PAO, the Certified Third Party Assessment Organization, and their CCA. Is I can't direct, I can't actually do anything, but I can help the company get ready. So it's a lot. The ethical training, the assessment training, and just learning 800-171, it's a big deal. There's great resources out there. I took a course at Space Coast. I got the book from Edwards. Whenever I go to a conference, I look for some of the stars. We just lost one, Robert Metzger, the other day. I met him in Austin, and so there is a really vibrant community in CMMC, but the official sources are not me or the Cyber AB. It's the Department of Defense is the official source. Interpreting the rules, learning how to work with them, getting resources. there's a lot out there, but it's a complex deal. I'm amazed. The
So
technology is easy. Yeah.
for those interested in maybe taking that exam, how did you learn about it? And is it like administered through the government or is it a third party?
The Cyber AB, if you go to cyberab.org, that's where you can start your personal journey. If you want to be a CCA, you've got to be a CCP first, but that's where you're going to find the resources for instructors, instruction, test scheduling. That's where you're going to, that's where you're going to find the information on if you want to get certified. If you want to just get ready without doing the Cyber AB steps, you can do that as well. But I did that because I want to provide the best possible service I can to quantum. Because if you look on the quantum website, you'll see the focus on expanding military sales. So in one way or another, if there is a CMMC, we're going to have to be compliant. And it's a great thing. It really is. Protecting the defense industrial base protects all of us. It protects the people on the front lines. It protects every person in the country. It's a really important thing to be a part of. And that's inspires people in it as well, that you really feel like you're doing something that contributes to the general welfare.
Amen to that. So organizations that are just starting their CMMC journey, we talked to them quite a bit, right? They sign up with us as part of the CCC CAPT program, Continuous Autonomous Pen Testing Program. And they're just starting their CMMC journey. And they ask us, you know, how can I use NodeZero to get started? Is there another like good first step that you would tell people, maybe besides the Discord, that they can, you know, take action on to get the ball rolling on their CMMC journey?
The Cyber AB is a good start, and I'm glad you brought up the penetration testing, because that's one of the, you have to be able to not only say that you have a plan, but be able to show them that you have done pen testing and that you have done remediation. These are the kinds of things that auditors look for, and that's why when the opportunity to get with Horizon and NodeZero and use your tool, I've just jumped at it, because not only does it give me that documentation and history, but it shows the auditor that you are working diligently to overcome and deal with anything that comes up, and that you're doing it regularly. Being able to do the runners and schedule them and have the pen tests run every week, every day, whatever you want, that's huge. But that's the kind of thing, regardless if you get certified, regardless of how you educate yourself, you have to not only have a program, but you have to show that you've been following it and being able to document, here are the results, here's what we did, and NodeZero does that perfectly. But you're one part of those 300 steps, but it's an important part. So thank you very much.
Oh, yes, our pleasure. We're glad we can help DIBS with, you know, that compliance and fit into that puzzle. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a C3PAO, and they told us that we were a security protection asset, an SPA, I believe. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Fit in there. Cool. So how have you specifically used NodeZero in your environment, especially with such a distributed environment? Have you done it in segments? Have you just done the whole environment? What advice would you give others who have a similar setup?
Prepare to be surprised when you run the first test. I've done the internal and external, and it really points out areas that you hadn't thought of. Network segmentation all of a sudden for me jumped up, like, oh my God, I see, you know, I really have to work on VLANs a little harder here. So, but really prepare to be surprised, because I think everybody who manages a network, we all get busy. We all do things that I'm going to get back to later. I'm going to fix this. In a company like Quantum, where we do a lot of development work, there's always a lot of new activity. And so, and because we're customer sensitive, service oriented, we have to do things quickly sometimes. And that's the kind of thing that can lead you into I'll get to it later, or this will be okay. Because you're taking care of a customer problem, you're taking care of a service problem, you're enabling someone in a remote location to do a job, and that can lead to unintended consequences. So the penetration testing brings that up immediately. That's why I really like the schedule. Being able to schedule it is like, okay, it's running. So it's an amazing tool. You guys have done a great job with it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And we want, everybody listening to jump in just as you have and, get on that schedule, get into that continuous validation of your environment, because that's the whole point of NodeZero, right? Finding those issues before the bad guy does. And you mentioned fixing the issues, right? And you forget about it and then you find them, but then you forget and you're like, oh, I'll come back to it later. But in that whole time, right, you're vulnerable. And it always seems like when we know about an issue, that's when, things strike. It's like ignorance is bliss to an extent, right? But then when you actually know the issue's there, then like chances are somebody's going to find it as well. So like that mean time to remediation is like a huge deal and something we harp on. Once the DIB, right, finds these issues using NodeZero, actually coming back in and running those checks to make sure that you actually did fix the issues is a huge thing. Running those one-click verify tests, running remediation scans, right? Just running the identical pen test again to make sure that those issues were remediated is vital to your continuous security validation journey. And part of that, CMMC journey or any real compliance that a company is trying to work within. So super helpful. Thank you for that, Michael. What are the top cybersecurity concerns for companies in the marine and the defense space? Do you have any like specific ones that you guys are on alert for?
Same thing that I think everybody has. Account takeover is huge. That's the biggest vulnerability, because whatever account's taken over is going to have all those rights and access. Data exfiltration, ransomware. I mean, there's nothing unique about it. And I have the same problem everybody does. I have to be right 100% of the time, and the attackers can be right once in a million. So it's nothing unusual. I tailor it because, again, ultra high net worth individuals and military, those and the remote nature, and that's what can cause the most sort of internal conflict. Well, we got to send a guy out with this. Well, it's got to be secured first. It's, we have to protect our data. We have to protect customer data. GDPR, California. I mean, we're a global company, so we are subject to regulations all over the place. People go through customs. People go to, yachts are global. They're in every ocean. They're in every environment. Some of the ports are in areas that are beautiful but maybe challenging. So our Ring Central call list is pretty extensive.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Definitely a daunting
Yeah.
task. But I wanted to double click on something you said at the beginning. You mentioned account takeover. What we always say is attackers don't hack in, they log in, right? That's like the new way of the vast percentage of hacks are just attackers getting their hands on login credentials, and then they're able to, wreak havoc in your network, given that they were able to phish those credentials, brute force them, right? Whatever their tactics are that they use. So really using a tool like NodeZero to figure out where your holes are, should those credentials be leaked, right? By running those internal pen tests and shoring up your odds and ends is what you should be doing and is like of utmost importance. And like you said, that segmentation test, right? Seeing how your network is segmented to see if people can get into another VLAN or another portion of your network. If you can go from the guest network in, like you said, bring your own device where you have your laptops, you're bringing all over the world, you're joining public Wi-Fi's. Hackers are always on those wires trying to get in via VPN, whatever it may be. So using a tool like NodeZero can definitely highlight those issues. So we have, go ahead.
Monitoring logins, two-factor authentication, Azure conditional access. There are a lot of tools out there, but the way that two-factor authentication is being bypassed with SIM swapping and session stealing's got to be the worst. I mean, that's how hard is that? Someone has logged in with the right credentials and they've beat their two-factor, and if someone has access to their device, they now have everything. So if I read all the things I lay out every day, I try to check with Krebs and other people. It's like, oh my God, it's hopeless. We'll never get through the day on this. So it's any tool that helps. And yes, the NodeZero, the penetration testing, the credential testing, all that. I'm unpopular at Quantum because I enforce password rotation. Even though Microsoft is now saying, well, you really shouldn't, there's a couple, Microsoft says if you have an indication of compromise that you should rotate. And I've been doing this long enough and I know people share passwords. They do not have unique passwords. And people at work are going to see something at a store or online. And just so I'll remember, I'll do it real quick and use their passwords. And so I think even though Microsoft and there's others that rotation's not necessary, if sharing passwords is a huge indication of compromise. And yes, we need to have strong password rules and rotate. And two-factor authentication on everything. I'd like to have two-factor authentication coming in the building, but that ain't gonna happen.
Do that. Okay, we got a question here in the chat. Do you find that NodeZero suffices for satisfying the vulnerability scanning requirements of, I guess, NIST 800-171, or are other vulnerability assessment tools required?
I can't answer that definitively. That's a cyber AB question. The CUI Discord would be good for that. I don't feel that I can tell other people that, yes, this tool satisfies this perfectly. I'm not at that level. There are people that are. Off the top of my head, yeah, I think it does, but there's so much discussion and there's the devil's in the details on this. And again, if you're using NodeZero I forget the chapter number on that, and you have your history present, if that doesn't fulfill it, I don't know what would. But I can't speak with that authority that, yes, this is all you need. I'd like to be that good, but I'm not.
Well, thank you, Michael. Yeah, to the person who asked that, definitely reach out, right? If you do talk to Cyber AB and ask them that question and they have further questions for you, feel free to reach out to us and we'll work with you on that, however we can help. Okay, so we're coming up to time here. As a last question, I would just ask you, for other companies working in the DIB, what best advice, I guess, would you have for them for strengthening their security and compliance, and then also with CMMC? Do you have any like parting thoughts on those topics?
That's a very broad question, and everybody's environment is going to be different. Can I tell Raytheon or General Dynamics what they should be doing? I don't think so. Are you a machine shop in my area that makes a widget? And at that point, honestly, you're going to have to examine from a financial point of view, from a business standpoint, what's it going to cost us to get compliant? And the other thing I would advise is the 48 CFR rule is what is going to actually pull the trigger on this. And I can't advise someone that you may have to make this huge investment until it really becomes official. Very slim chance that it won't. I think if the one piece of advice is to get NIST 800-171 R2 and start going through it, there's spreadsheets you can download online and just examine your environment against that. If you haven't started, if you're a small business, if you want to start that journey, get a spreadsheet, check it against your network.
Amazing. We all love spreadsheets.
Well, it does make it easy, and you have
yeah.
100 categories and 300 objectives. So it's not. And some things like NodeZero, like the way that your reports go, if you do one thing, it really does 2 or 3 things. So
exactly. Yep. You just check it off, and before you know it, you'll be Done, and then it
But
feels better.
if any security training that I've taken, you start with an inventory.
Mhm.
You really have to know your assets, you have to know what you're protecting, and you have to know what manages those assets. So the inventory is always going to be the first step in any journey, CMMC or just for your insurance company, whatever it is. Inventory is the first step.
Perfect. And then last question, do you have a suggested source for the spreadsheets?
I just online, again, CUI Center of Excellence, they have some, but if you just got Dr. Google, NIST 800-171 spreadsheet, you'll find them. And it changes. It's a moving target. I've got lots of them, but that's a good place to start.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate you coming on with us and chatting about all these fun topics. Thank you. So thank you for joining, everyone, and we will see you all at the next one.
And thank you for the service you do. I appreciate what you've enabled me to do. So thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.